Yeah, God, that was the longest 3 seconds. I wondered if we were live or not. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Neil Long with our regular Wednesday edition, and I hope you're feeling good today. Now, we are supposed to have a guest, but he hasn't confirmed. I really hope he's going to be with us today because he's a fantastic man to talk to. We've actually spoken to him before on the show, and I really wants to get him back on. If not, I do have a backup plan, and we will be most certainly doing that if I do not get any joy with the guest. But as I say, I really hope we get him on the show today. His name's Jay, and he's absolutely top banana gentleman and scholar. So I'm Neil Long. Hello. Welcome. I hope life is good with you, and thank you very much indeed for tuning in. We can do some hellos if you like. Stick your hellos in the comments, and I can certainly give them a mention for you and say hi. Or I'll just sit here in silence until you do. That doesn't make very good radio, does it? So if we don't get our guest today, I'm going to be doing some more from Michael Mosley's book, Just One Thing. I have another tribute to the good doctor who very sadly is no longer with us. But there's some fantastic and really easy and really doable things to do in here, and some brilliantly applicable, I would say, science, because that was Michael Mosley's gift, wasn't it? He was able to take complicated scientific concepts and make them available to us, the great unwashed, but make it very friendly and approachable and doable, not kind of a bit white coaty and dry like much sciences want to be sometimes. Not that I'm dissing science, of course, but just saying. Anyway, so very good afternoon. Any hellos? We've normally got a couple of hellos by now. Come on, don't be shy. Love to speak to you and give you a bit of a shout out. And fingers crossed we will get our guest. I did mention him earlier. Let's just see if he's answered. I do all my own production, on this show. Has he answered? No. I wonder where he is. Okay, well, if we don't get him on today, we will certainly get him on another time. Or I could, I suppose. I wonder. I am going to text a wonderful lady that's been on the show before, giving you an insight into the world of radio here. You don't see this on the telly, do you? Because she's got plenty to talk about, and she's always a really good guest. Let's see what she says. All right, there we go. So we sent a text off to her. Not live on Facebook. Thank you. Hello, Robert Van Buren. Thank you for that. You're not live on Facebook. Well, if you found me to watch me somewhere, that's good. I'll look at the Facebook thing a bit later on. Oh, an immediate response from my emergency guest. All right. Hello, I will send you a link on Facebook. Keep an eye out for it. There we go. So we do have a guest today after all. We'll chat to her for a bit. I mean, I'll hopefully do some Michael Mosley stuff as well, because I really do think that stuff is so valuable. And to be honest, I'd like to remember him for as long as possible. Now, let me just very quickly send this to our guest. Bear with me. Literally, I do all my own production. All the writing you see on the screen, I do all that. Sourcing the guests, do all that. I just gotta do everything here. People think that radio people have, masses of producers and all these kinds of things, and I can only say that is definitely not true in most cases. Hate to shatter myths for you, but there we go. Right, we sent her the link, so she'll be in the green room soon, and we'll let her on. Yeah, and well might you apologise, Fat Scotty. Well might you apologise, sir. Afternoon, Longie. Sincere apologies for my tardiness. That's quite all right. It's quite all right, Fat Scotty. And thanks for Robert Van Buren for letting me know we're not live on Facebook. I did get a notification that one of the streams had dropped out. I'm not sure what's happened there. Maybe I'm in Facebook jail again. I don't know, but I do know a guy that deliberately gets banned from Facebook. He wears it like a badge of honour. He'll just say the most offensive. But when things are really offensive, but like really funny as well, it's one of those things, I shouldn't laugh, and you do, and it kind of encourages him to do it more. So he'll put these really offensive messages on Facebook, just to get banned, and he'll wear his 30-day ban 30 days Facebook jail, if you like a badge of honour. And he's very, very proud of it. It's kind of like if trolls were fun, kind of the good, if there is a good side of trolling, he is it. Out of taste, inappropriate, subversive, but funny. So we're just waiting for our guest today, who is going to be Lucy Cavendish, who we've had on the show before. How to have extraordinary relationships with absolutely everybody is her book. And we look forward to welcoming her on the show at the moment. I've sent her the link and she'll be joining us very, very soon, talking more about her book and her forthcoming podcast as well. Because, and what I like about it, and we'll talk about this more when she's on air, that relationship is such a big word. We can be in relationship with anything and anyone in any way, even things we don't like. We're in some sort of relationship with it. We're in relationship to money. We're in relationship to the planet. So relationship is a much bigger word than we might think, and that's going to be reflected in her podcast, but we'll talk about that more when she's on air. Julie Voice, hi Neil, I'm better late than never. Have you been hanging around outside that bowls club again, Julie? You've really got to watch that lifestyle, because it will catch up with you one day. Longie says, Fat Scotty, off at a tangent, do you know any brain training exercises, websites, courses for the elderly to improve their attention, help improve their attention span and improve their memory? Well, let's have a look. Tribute to this wonderful man. So sad. Right. So let's have a little look. See if Think Yourself Stronger is in here. Just finding something that might answer your question here, Fat Scotty. Let's have a look. All right. There's something here that might be relevant, but yes, there is an awful lot of. I'd need to research this a little bit, probably, Fat Scotty, but yes, there certainly is, because the mantra is use it or lose it, isn't it? Here we go. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Read. Yes, I need that too, Scotty. I think what you'll find with these things, that they're so easy, but I think they're deceptively easy. And because they're so easy to do, we might think, I'm doing it and it's not really working. But then suddenly you look back and realize there's been a cumulative effect. It's a bit like, hello, Chrissy. It's a little bit like if someone has a child and you don't see them for a while, and the next time you see them a few years later, you go, oh, you've grown to the child, and the parent hasn't really noticed because they're with them every day. It's kind of like that. It's more of a cumulative effect. But anyway, read. How to do it. Read a book for 30 minutes each day, ideally a work of fiction. There we go. So if you can get yourself a copy of Neil Long's Guide to Pulling Women, which is a work of fiction. Anyway, I absolutely love reading, says Michael Mosley, and have done from a young age. And by the way, I take no credit at all for this work. I'm doing this as a tribute to Dr. Michael. It's not my work, but I'm very happy to signpost you to it. I absolutely love reading and have done for a young age. I was often spotted walking down the street, reading avidly while trying to avoid fellow pedestrians and lampposts. We have the same now with iPhones, don't we? These days, I snatch my reading moments when I can, such as during a lunch break on a train or late at night. I'm also a member of the local book club, which over the last 10 years has provided a great deal of entertainment and food for thought. So I don't need persuading that reading lots of fiction is good for empathy and social skills. Not that it can help improve memory and protect against depression. Now, that's interesting, because I suppose it can, this is my words, not his, it can open up new worlds to you, can't it? And new worlds can be new points of views. And we can all get a bit stuck in points of views. And sometimes they're just kind of a bit icky and they don't serve us. So other things to choose from is a good thing. The great thing about reading particular fiction, it acts, here we go, Scotty, pay attention, it acts as a whole brain workout. Researchers at Stanford University scanned the brains of people. They were reading Jane Austen and found a dramatic and unexpected increase in blood flow across the entire brain. And the more blood flow, the more of it we're accessing. So that's a good thing. That's because when we get really immersed in a good book, our brains are busy imagining the sights, sounds, smells, and tastes described. And this activate many different areas of the brain that process these experiences in real life. So if I say lavender, or I say cinnamon, or I say soap, that will elicit from a response not only from the language processing area in your brain, but also the areas devoted to dealing with smell. Does that make sense? So it uses more of the brain just by one stimulus, and it will light up more. And I mean that literally, the brain does light up. We do light up. According to neuroscientist Dr. Raymond Ma at York University in Toronto, reading fiction can boost your empathy and interpersonal skills because the parts of the brain that we use to understand stories overlap with the ones we use to understand other people. Isn't this fascinating, this neuroscience? Reading helps our brains get better at creating accurate models of real people and predicting what they might think, feel, or do. That is interesting. I've always used books, says Michael Mosley, as a form of escapism, so I was not surprised to learn that studies show reading is one of the best ways to escape from the pressures of modern life. It's this aspect of reading that may reduce an avid reader's risk of developing depression. So another good reason to read. Anxiety, says Dr. Ma, is all about having our attention focused inwardly, but reading forces our focus on the words and the story, and that can take us out of our head and help us to relax. If we're really absorbed, we can enter a meditative state. And I don't want to overcomplicate the word meditation. It's just like if you're really absorbed in something and maybe somebody could walk in the room and you'd hardly notice them come in. Or you might walk in the room and someone's deeply absorbed in something. It's like, hello, hello. And they're like, oh, I didn't know you were there. That is a meditative state. We go in and out of them all day, meditative or trance states, if you like. People tend to have a bit of fear around these words, but no need, because that's all it means. It's very natural. Meantime, more remarkably, studies have shown that being a keen reader is associated with a longer life. Although he suspects that's got a lot to do with the fact that people that read are almost more likely to follow a healthier lifestyle. But basically, reading fiction acts as a whole brain workout. When researchers at Stanford University scanned the brains of people reading Jane Austen, they found a dramatic, I say, an unexpected increase in blood flow across the entire brain. So what should we be reading? Novels or biographies as opposed to non-fiction. So ironically, we shouldn't be reading Michael's book for this. But it's important you find something you enjoy reading. He says, pointing out the positive benefits occur only after repeated, long-term and frequent exposure. So you do need to do it over and over. Maybe that answers your question to a degree, Scotty, but I will look at that. I did also hear learning a new language helps. She does a lot of paper-based word searches, which become repetitive, and she loses interest. She uses her smartphone and Kindle, but looking for a new way to stimulate her brain. Maybe games on the smartphone. Because you can get some really good games there. If he's looking for new novelty, we want dopamine. If you're getting bored with word searches, that means it's no longer a challenge. The optimal state, I suppose, for learning and enjoying things is challenging enough to be interesting, but not so challenging it's insurmountable. And it's that sweet spot between the two. And that applies to learning anything new. And that will also apply, I think, to releasing healthy dopamine in the brain, Scotty, which we need. But it's that balance of the two, I think. If a task is impossible, we won't attempt it, and it just seems, and probably think we're a failure. That's too much one end. Or if it's too easy, which is what's happened here, obviously this, your mum is obviously a lot more intelligent than that, and needs something to stimulate her more. So maybe that helps, and I'll try and do a bit more research on that. But maybe a game on the phone or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe learning a new language. Duolingo. And that's an app where you can learn new language. My girlfriend is learning Italian at the moment, and which is going pretty well, actually. And my daughter's marrying an Italian on Friday. Chrissy says, I don't stop reading right from 4 years old. Mad about horses. I read every book in the library. I assume that means mad about horse, mad about the house, mad about horse. I read every book in the library at school and library. Also crosswords and code words I like doing, and also colouring mandalas. Yes, that's quite a mindful activity. That'll get you to focus, mandala colouring. Fat Scotty, vocabulary smell synergies make perfect sense and have been a great way for her to reminisce and promote memory recall. Yeah, prompting discussion with her friends. Yes, absolutely, because in a sense, the brain doesn't know the difference between a real and an imagined experience. We get the same feelings either way, which in a bad way, that's how we get PTSD and stuff like that when we get that recall, but it can also recall positive things. So, positive memories, positive sights, sounds, smells, and that would be associated with vocabulary. It's fascinating, really, isn't it? Chrissy says, I like playing Scrabble and Monopoly because when I beat Mike, he sulks like a child. Lol. Well, well, that's just an extra bit of satisfaction. Good afternoon, Lucy Cavendish. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, excuse me. I'm good. How are you?
It always makes me smile when people say, "What time's the show?" When the show is called The Midday.
I know. Stop.
The clue is.
Well, hang on a minute. I've been in Greece for a little bit, not where Michael Mosley was. Poor man.
Right.
But, so I think my time is a bit out. I'm sort of, Anyway, there we go. I'm making excuses.
I know. Excuses.
I've appeared.
Well, it's very nice to have you on the show. We met in person the other day as well, didn't we, to discuss your forthcoming podcast. So we'll talk about that a bit on the show today. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, you're the producer. You're going to be in my pocket.
Well, I didn't like to say, but the thing is, you said it.
Yeah, how fortunate am I? I've got Neil in my pocket. He's producer in my pocket. So I've already done a podcast called Later Data that is available on your usual places, Spotify, etc. And that one, I'm going to do a little bit of bragging here because why not? That won a gold at the British Podcasting Awards, which is sort of like the awards for podcasting in the relationships category. And I was quite surprised, really, because it was quite a low-key podcast in the sense that it wasn't sort of, it was into talking to people who were dating in lots of different ways. So, for example, I talked to people about polyamory. I talked to people about ethical non-monogamy. I talked to a tantric sex.
Stop. Just explain, just for the benefit of the unenlightened, what polyamory is and ethical non-monogamy, and indeed the difference.
Well, yeah, okay, this is complicated because they sound the same thing. Polyamory is when you have decided that you would like to have more than one partner. Now, that could be in a relationship. You could be opening up your relationship, your marriage or your partnership or whatever. And the idea about polyamory, I think, is that it's talked about rather than it's, I'm being unfaithful and lying and having an affair. So polyamory, I think. So
it's all out in the open, essentially.
Well, out in the open, I think people now on various dating sites say, or they go on polyamorous dating sites, which is really, I'm open to having significant relationships with more than one person. So it's complicated. You could say, well, isn't that just having flings? But you don't have to be in a relationship in order to be polyamorous. You can be polyamorous because you're a polyamorous person. So ethical non-monogamy is when people are in a relationship and they decide that they are not going to be monogamous.
Okay.
Do you see? It's a very slight difference. And the ethical bit is, you sit down and you agree it. So essentially you're opening up your relationship in which, or whatever way you are talking about it. I really think I'm going a bit off track here. I do think it's around sex, I have to say. But you can be emotionally, and I think that's a little bit more complicated, actually. If you say, I want to be emotionally non-monogamous, I think that's complicated. So I think it really is around things like sex or intimate relationships, physically.
Hang on, emotionally non-monogamous.
Well, I just made that bit up. So someone here listening might know more about this than me. I was just playing with this idea. So when people talk about ethical non-monogamy, because it's
to me, that's having more than one partner.
It is. I agree,
but it's all out in the open, and there's clear agreements and boundaries in place. That's what makes it ethical.
Yes, but are we talking about sex, or are we talking about the broader category of relationships? If someone say, well, actually, I don't really know if I want to have sex with more than one person, but I want to go and have intimate times. I want to be emotionally close.
Isn't that just being a friend?
Well, yes and no, because as a couples counselor, I can tell you, women, and I'm generalizing everybody, but women are much more threatened by men getting emotionally close to another woman. Men are much more threatened by the idea that their partner might be shagging somebody else. So it's interesting. Can we have emotional infidelity? Yeah, I think we probably can. I'm going completely off track. I'm just thinking out loud.
No, this is interesting. We're come full circle in it, but hang on a minute, just to play devil's advocate. How can you
Yes.
how by being emotionally intimate with someone, which is just having an open, honest conversation, be considered unfaithful? Isn't that just a jealousy problem on behalf of the woman in this case?
Well, all of this stuff is a jealousy problem to a certain extent. Yeah, I mean, I think all of it is a jealousy problem. I think we have this sense that you are my one, you know, you're my one. And so I mean, we're old enough to know this isn't the case, but you know, so we must be, you know, this must be special. It must be different. So if you're going around shagging other people and you're going around becoming emotionally intimate with other people, that makes me feel insecure and jealous because I no longer feel safe and secure. And we kind of need to be giving our partners safety and security. Okay, that's the balance.
But doesn't that, couldn't that be a trap? Because I'm not saying behind your partner's back go and shag other people. I'm not saying that.
Well, that's good. But the girlfriend might be listening.
she
You're
is
not going to do it while you're off learning Italian, Annie.
No, but so I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying if you have close, but I can't use my own example, but I have a girlfriend and she's lovely, but I also have close female friends who you could say I'm emotionally intimate with, and they've shared, things with me, and I've shared things with them. That doesn't mean to say I'm being unfaithful in that sense in any way.
No,
and now I'm going to take myself out of the picture and just say people in general, but I've also had situations in the past where even talking to someone else, you were flirting with her. No, I wasn't. Or even talking to someone, and I don't see why I should dance so much to other people's tune that I'm not allowed to talk or have an open conversation with other people because it's gonna make someone feel jealous. That's their problem, not mine. Sorry.
Well, it is.
No?
Yeah, I mean but that is something people need to work on in their relationship. Okay, if you are with someone who feels threatened by you speaking to anybody, that relationship isn't going to last. If it lasts, it's going to be very difficult because you're going to feel very shut down. So that's about their insecurity, and they may have a history of people cheating on them. That's where the intimacy. That's where the knowing of each other comes in, which is what.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if people have got a history of being cheated on, then that's a pattern again that they, with love, compassion, and support, need to work on. That's not the responsibility of their partner. The partner can give them safe space to do it, but he's not directly responsible.
No, but this is about the level of your relationships. This is about, do you have the emotional capacity to talk about that together? Because jealousy jealousy comes from insecurity and fear. Lots and lots and lots of stuff comes from fear. Anyway, we're sort of wandering off in the other direction.
Most negative behaviors do.
I think if people choose to, so a lot of people, not a lot, some people come to my practice as couples. I see a lot of couples and they've decided to open up their marriage and it hasn't gone well. Right. So I'm sure, obviously, I see the couples for whom it's not working very well. I don't see the couples for whom it is working well because they're not in therapy with me. And because all other stuff, so however much you boundary stuff, it's very hard to keep love boundaried. It's very hard to keep emotions, boundaried. It's difficult. So I think what was interesting about later data is that people talk very honestly about these sorts of issues. I also had a male escort on the podcast, which was fascinating.
Now that's a totally different angle. I mean,
yes, well, I had lots of different people, and that was fascinating, really interesting. I'm not sure if he's called an escort. You are allowed. It's legal, obviously. You're allowed to. You're a kind of companion to somebody. Women took him off on holidays and. It was really, I was fascinated by all these people. I had Mary, who is a Christian, and didn't believe in sex before marriage, but previously to converting had been in a relationship and was bisexual. So that was interesting. How do you go from this place to that place? How
did her bisexuality fit with her Christianity?
Well, she essentially had to put it in a box and put it on the altar.
See, I find I don't really want to bring religion into this, but in my opinion, that's just one of the really restrictive aspects of religion. I think it promotes an awful lot of ignorance about it as well. Because if sex, number one, it makes no sense that sex is wrong and bad until you get married. Then suddenly it's sacred and beautiful.
Yes. I mean, also, yes.
That makes no sense whatsoever. Number one, and number two. all it does is kind of push it underground. There's no education, there's no communication,
No,
and it all gets shoved underground. And it actually makes it worse. That there was a statistic that the biggest group of, sorry to be so blunt, sex offenders in America was the deeply religious people. For those reasons I've just cited, I can understand that. Sorry, but if you're going to make something wrong and bad, and then suddenly you get married and by magic, oh, now it's sacred and beautiful. That's just childish thinking. I'm sorry. To me,
it's the whole Judeo-Christian thing of we need to have children within marriage because it's a safe structure. So it's it's a sort of out. I don't want to get into religion either, but it's kind of outmoded. But it's a choice. I have clients from different religions who have chosen not to have sex before marriage for all sorts of reasons. That is complicated. Because when you start having sex, you're like, well, I don't actually know what this is, and is this any good, and am I enjoying it? And a whole pile of stuff happens.
I've heard of people that got married who were religious and got married just so they could have sex. I mean, and it had never been discussed, never been talked about, and obviously you can guess how the relationship probably worked out.
Yes. No, I can get that. Then I had a very lovely guy who was a 43-year-old virgin who taught very honestly. So, lots of people who very kindly shared their stories in their world with me.
And this was your podcast, and this won awards to come.
It won awards, and it did very well. It then, unfortunately, got canned.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm the Meghan Markle of the British podcasting world. Yeah, it's 10 episodes and I'm out. For all sorts of reasons.
I never thought I'd hear anyone use the phrase, I'm the Meghan Markle of, well, anything really. Or,
I'm the Meghan Markle of the British podcast. Successful podcast, but went no further for all sorts of reasons, really. I think money is the main reason. So that was fine. I had a really great experience doing it. And then I wrote my book, How to Have Extraordinary Relationships with Absolutely Everybody. Here it is, showing it to everybody.
Yes. And the podcast off the back of the book is coming soon.
Yeah. So it's going to be talking to people about, it's not dissimilar to Later Data. So I was a journalist. Now I'm a therapist, and and a coach, and I combine all that together. So what I think works very well, I hope, is that journalistic curiosity, and I don't feel, I don't feel frightened of asking people questions, and they don't have to answer. If it's a difficult question, they don't want to answer it. They can say, actually, I don't really want to get into that. But also with that genuine, I went into counseling because I'm genuinely fascinated by why we do what we do. What makes us us? Why do we do what we do? How do we change what we do? And then I was thinking about extraordinary relationships aren't just with people, they're with ourselves, they're with what we do, they're with nature. It's a huge banner under which
universe, money,
animals, money. Yeah, money's fascinating. Our children. It's a huge banner under which people can come and talk about, stuff that feels very important to them that they want to share with the listener. So really, it's going to be very open. I've got all sorts of people lined up. A friend of mine's a model, very successful, older model.
We were having a chat when we met on Monday, and it's what I love doing when I work with clients. I like working one-to-one. I love brainstorming, and some of the ideas and some of the people that I've encountered over what I've done over the years will make fantastic guests, and it's just relationship from every conceivable angle. Hold that thought. We're going to pop some comments on. Back to language. Me and my family are learning Portuguese. Some on Duolingo, some on Google Translate. My sister-in-law is Brazilian, hence the desire to learn more, but also holidays in Portugal. There we go. Because normally, if I'm going on holiday, how to order a beer, how to start a fight. That's all I need to know. That was a joke. Liz, some men I know, they just want sex, none of the emotional attachment. Now again, that's too far the other way for me. I know what I said a minute ago, but I'm not saying I'm that. Whereas most women, not including myself, want more emotion than sex, the whole Mars-Venus thing. But I would question if security and confidence, if someone needs someone else to always be the same, so they can feel good, that's a recipe for disaster because people are changing, evolving beings. I think so.
But a lot of
leery of that concept.
A lot of people are changing and evolving beings, and that is a premise which I would like people to take to heart, because what's amazing about that is that you don't have to keep doing the same thing. So people come to me and say, I'm just an angry person, as if it's just a sort of, God came down for talking about religion from the mountain and gave Moses the tablets, and on it says Robert is an angry person. So my point to people is, well, is that actually true? Because you're now 58 or whatever, and that was when you were 20. There's been 30 years, and people
Yeah,
generally
and
aren't
I think
thought
sometimes
about it.
people don't have the tools for change, which is where wonderful people like you come in, because they don't know the
Well,
tools
sometimes
exist.
people don't particularly want to change. They come in and say,
Or they don't want to. Yeah, that's another thing. I was on a call last night, and my teacher, he said some people want to be on the sort of leading edge of personal development, where I'm not. He is, I'm not. But some people don't want to change at all, and that's their path. That's the thing. And sometimes
well, it's
people are a good fit
unsafe.
at one point, and then one grows, and they're not a match anymore. That happens too, doesn't it?
Yes, and that is akin to sort of things which I know a lot about AA for sorts of reasons, which is, what tends to happen in AA is, let's say the alcoholic gets clean and sober and stays clean and sober. Actually, the dynamic changes so much because the person, the partner who really wants their alcoholic to get clean and sober, the whole dynamic changes. And sometimes actually people don't know what to do and they split up. I mean, I think the reason, people come into therapy and say I want change, and then quite often when we get bits of the change, they're like, well, I can't do this, well, I can't do that. And I help people find love, and they're like, oh no, I know, he's too tall, he's too short, he's wearing brown shoes. I'm like, he's also kind of
His
lovely.
shoelaces were too big.
Yeah. Or one woman said to me, he didn't put enough cheese on his macaroni cheese.
I was discussing this with two friends of mine who are also radio presenters, Emily Kate Owen, who's presented the show before with me now, and Chloe Norman, who's a brilliant up-and-coming DJ, radio presenter and journalist. And we worked together on the Jackie Breakfast Show team, and we were discussing the ick one morning. We have decided that the icks that, and I'm sorry, women have for men are so unfair, really unfair. Shoelaces too big, she gets the ick, doesn't want to know. Do you know the most unfair one of the lot? He was driving her somewhere. Someone wouldn't let him merge in the lane, and because of that, she got the ick and didn't want to see him again. That is not fair, girls. Come on, that is really not fair.
No, it's not. So when I said to this person, well, hang on a minute, you liked him, you're having a nice time. You've been looking for someone for years. This has been, this guy showed up and he's great, and you're going to not see him again because you say that he didn't put enough cheese on the macaroni cheese. Do you know how mad that sounds?
Yeah.
Do you know? Are you hearing?
So that begs a question. And yes, you're right, it is mad. But do you get people coming to you as a therapist saying, I've got a problem with this person, can you change them for me?
With couples, I do. If they come as couples quite often do the he's wrong, she's wrong, his mother, her mother. It's all, it's about the other person. So that's getting people to talk about themselves. With the macaroni, I just want to finish the macaroni cheese thing. So really it's like with the ish, it's saying, what is it about that made you decide not to see this person again? Because there's I think there's information in pretty much everything, right? So actually it boiled down to, well, I think it showed an ungenerosity of spirit. I just think he didn't buy enough cheese, right? So I've said you've got options. You can either say, so is it based on other stuff that he's done? So this is what I'm trying to get to. The ick is interesting because it can happen in a nanosecond. You can be bowling along, having a lovely time with someone, and then they do something or say something, and it's like that. It's like, oh my God, you're a moron. I went on holiday with someone years ago I thought I was really in love with, and we went to southern Spain, to Gaucin, and I said, oh, look, this is a lovely, example of Moorish architecture. And he said, oh, does that mean you want to see more of it? And I thought he was joking. So I don't really mind that someone doesn't know what the Moorish architecture. It was the way he said it, and that in a nanosecond, that was done.
Well, just because he made a joke about double meaning.
It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a joke. And because what I really realised.
Oh, he meant it. He thought
it. That's okay.
It was Moorish, like food is Moorish.
Like Moorish. So
because he didn't get it, that gave you the ick.
Oh yeah, completely gave me the ick. But I tell you
That's
why.
not fair.
No, it's totally fair, because I tell you why. What I realised was we'd both been doing a bit of a false dance with each other,
Right.
actually. I was still quite in love with a very a kind of Samuel Beckett-y sort of a person who lived in Belfast, and I was trying to kind of not be, and I was trying to kind of go out with a kind of alpha male, marketing director, and he was trying to be a sort of, very well-read, highly intellectual, Oxbridge graduate, and we were both basically not being honest with each other. So I think the it
So
comes
that's what it comes
stuff
down to. It
like
wasn't. It
that.
wasn't just a. It wasn't just a
No, it
silly
wasn't
play on
just
words.
that. It was just the final, I mean, it was the moment I thought, you're both being, both of you want this, but for the wrong reasons. You're not really present, the two of you. You're sort of both pretending to be something that you're not.
Hang on, Lucy. Our resident comedians in the house, Graham Pack. I've not seen lessish architecture. I think we should. Get the ick from you and ban you from the show, Graham, for your terrible dad jokes.
That took me a bit of time to get that one. Sorry.
We will do back to
Oh
comments
no,
just for a moment.
wanting sex. Hang on. So where we've gone completely off piece.
We were talking about sex and the morality of it and monogamy. Liz says you should always do what's best for you, Neil Long, in any situation. If you decide to sleep with 5 people in 5 days, that's your business. Well, thank you for that, Liz. And on my gravestone, freshly lacquered, these 3 words just bleeding knackered. And talking about religion seems to hem people in rather than enrich in so many ways, and I very much agree with that, particularly the more orthodox and conservative ones. And I do agree with that. Kind of cutting the person to fit the cloth is a phrase that springs to mind, which I don't really think is the point of it all. Anyway, you were saying.
Hang on, where was I? I've got completely lost now.
We were talking about your podcast. Are we talking about you getting the ick? You were Samuel Beckett, alpha male marketer.
Well, so I think that the ick around the macaroni cheese was the fact that she was actually having quite a nice time on her own. And actually she didn't, she wasn't confident about going into a relationship. So actually she also once dumped someone because he walked over a stile in a weird way. So, actually she did a very funny impression of the way someone tried to get over a stile, and she was like, he'll be terrible in bed because he can barely get over a stile. And
come on.
No, but she did when you saw her do the impression of it, you did think, okay, I was like, don't be ridiculous. And they did an impression of sort of someone who could barely move, and I was like, I kind of get it. But underneath all that, anyway, I don't think she really wants to be involved with someone. So I want to do the sex thing. So when people come to me and say they want to meet somebody, and it's women, and then they ask me questions like, should I sleep with someone on the first date? There's a lot around sex with, should I sleep with someone on the first date? When should I sleep with someone? If I sleep with someone, will he devalue me? And Liz has got a point, which is, if you meet someone and you fancy the socks off them and you think all I want to do is grab them, go to bed with them, off you go, off you go. Because if that's what you want, great. If you are doing that in order to get them to stay with you, love you, ring you tomorrow morning, or you're sort of loving it.
Yes. So it's not about morality, as some would have us believe, as long as it's consensual, of course. It's not about morality. That goes without saying. Not about morality. It's not what you're doing. It's why you're doing it. Casual sex is not in and of itself bad. But if you're doing it to try and keep someone, or to change someone's mind, or to influence how someone feels, if you're doing it, again, if you're doing it for anyone else other than yourself, then it's probably not the right reason. Is that a fair rule of thumb?
Yeah, so I think I mean, if you meet someone, you think, wow, all I can think about is dragging him upstairs, and great, go for it. Fantastic. There's nothing wrong with having sex with people. We've got this whole weird thing around sex. People don't talk about it. It all gets very enmeshed.
Why
couples come and go, well, you'd like to talk about the dog. And I'm like, is that, okay, you want to talk about the dog? It takes weeks. Eventually I'll say to them, I think we need to talk about sex.
Why are we so hung up on it? Why are we so hung up on it? I remember there was a poster up, and it showed a woman's naked bottom, right? Shock horror. And it was a poster for lingerie or underwear of some sort. And people were complaining about it. And was it Ofcom or whoever was the regular? They were getting complaints about it. But these are the same people that would probably sit down and watch EastEnders and watch people conniving, gossiping, killing each other, stealing from each other. That's all okay. But a naked bum, that's disgusting. Why are we so hung up on sex? What is it about that? That film with Ronnie Corbett, No Sex Please, We're British. Do you remember that?
Yes. Well, yeah, I do. I do now. Why was something? Well, I think for a lot of us, when I was growing up, if anyone even kissed on the television, my mother would switch it off.
No way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think I saw my parents even kiss each other. Mainly they got a divorce, so maybe that's why.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank you, Graham. So I think there was a lot of, so when I was growing up, and I'm 57, okay, so, you know, I'm not talking for younger people. And if there's anyone else who would like to, who's younger, would like to offer a different point of view, I'm really happy to hear it. But in my, you know, my family, no one talked about it. You know, the television was turned off. It was really like, you know, ooh. So of course we're funny about sex. If you're, you know, if your family doesn't talk about sex and you don't watch anything about sex and no one speaks about it.
So if let's rewind that scenario and let's say you were there and the two people kissed on TV. What if the adults that we obviously looked up to at that point said something like, what a beautiful demonstration of love. And by the way, so is sex. It's great fun. It's hot. And when people really love each other, it's a really wonderful thing. What a beautiful gift. Said no parent.
Said no one to anybody. Yeah, wouldn't that be brilliant?
Ever.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it?
Yeah,
but wouldn't it? I don't want my daughter being hung up on the idea of sex. Far from it.
Because it's like in Miranda where the mother says, you know, it's very funny.
SEX, yeah, as your grandma used to say. I mean, frankly, how some of us are here at all, I don't know.
So, I mean, we do. So I'm very happy people.
Plus, it's scientifically proven it's good for you.
Yeah, it's very good for you. It's also a hot. I mean, this sounds really obvious, but it's a hot wire to intimacy. So couples. You know, I always say to couples, like, you know, because of course it's about stuff. It's about really deep stuff. It's about many, many, many things because it's a complicated thing, sex. And it's also a very nuanced thing because there's the whole range of it. You know, there's fantasy and there's all that. It can be quite dark. It can be quite manipulative. I mean, there's all, you know, it's a complicated subject and no one talks about it. Couples very, very rarely talk about it. They may, younger couples may do. But older ones don't. And then there's a point where women tend to be women kind of go, right, that's it, I'm done. So a lot of couples come, their wife has gone through menopause and she's gone, I'm done, never want to have sex again. You know, it's ever. I don't want to have sex again. I want to do the garden. I want to be with my kids. I want to walk the dog. I want to have fun with you. I want to love you. I want us to be together. But I am never again going to put out for you. Ever.
Well, that's a shame, though, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's a terrible thing because, you know, if women are in their 50s, who wants to say I'm never going to have sex again? So it's about stuff. And that's about millions and millions and millions of years, probably, of women doing stuff they don't want to do. I mean, I don't want to get into this huge thing, but it's about stuff. And it's really,
yeah, I mean, there is that. I mean, there's definitely the whole patriarchal hangover where it was a man's right to have sex with a woman anytime he wanted. And that's wrong, even in marriage, in my opinion. It's the C word, it's consent. But on the right side of consent, it's a very big field to play in, a very big fun field, in my opinion. Can I recommend a book? Have we talked about this in any of our discussions? Can I recommend this? Shameless. It's by someone called Pamela Madsen. How I ditched the diet, got naked, found true pleasure, and somehow got in time to cook dinner. That's a great book about one woman's sexual awakening. Really, really, really good. It's a great yarn and a true story as well.
Pamela Madsen. I can't find my pen.
Yeah, I'll pop that on. I'll add that to the banner. One moment. I'll just edit it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It's absolutely. If you could get her on the podcast, I mean, she does seminars for women now and helps them have sexual awakenings, you know, women that
is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely.
You know, women that have maybe never had an orgasm and then suddenly at, I don't know, 65, 75, they do, you know, thanks to her.
It's you know, it's an energy and it means what you're doing is you're not tapping into this amazing energy that we have. as women and men, I'm not a man, so I have no idea. But
and also, if you put a spiritual spin on it, and people say, "Oh, well, religion says I can't do this," but wait a minute, isn't religion supposed to lead to spirituality? And
Yes,
wouldn't spirituality tell you that it's the energy of creation and it can create new human life, for God's sake? And I speak most reverently. So how can that be wrong? It's second chakra from that point of view, which is creative.
Exactly.
It's expressing your creativity.
Yeah.
It's expressing creativity in including that way and in many other ways. How can that be wrong? I don't get it.
Well, yeah, exactly. But
I'm not saying I don't get it. I don't get that.
now we're getting into personal details. Yeah.
Now we're getting into schoolboy humour.
The podcast will cover hopefully all these areas of all sorts of different types of relationships. People have relationships with ghosts. All sorts of things. I'm really interested. Oh yeah. People have relationships with ghosts. Wasn't there someone that married a ghost? That's quite good, actually.
I've heard of ghosting, but I mean that's next level.
A woman relatively recently married a ghost that she thought was living in her house. I think they might have got divorced, actually. I think she recently divorced the ghost. We're crazy people.
Hang on a minute. Stop. So she married a ghost.
Then I think they fell out.
How did they fall out? I mean, communication not that good, clearly.
I don't think he was attentive at all.
Well, no, he wouldn't be. He's dead.
No, I know. I think he was a cavalier, and I don't know. He was too busy preening his ostrich hat or whatever it was.
Oh, so he was a bit of a player.
He was a bit of a player, that cavalier. I think she's divorced him.
Quite right too.
Quite right.
Did she get half of everything? I mean, how do you split the assets? How do you work that one out? Who gets to keep the dog?
But this is why I think human beings are fascinating. Really, we do crazy things. We do crazy things, But most of us try our hardest to be good people, to put stuff back into society, to be kind. And most people, I mean, people can be like, "Oh, life's terrible and everyone's horrible." I'm like, that's actually not true.
No, it's not. I think what is always true, we learned this in NLP, people always do the best with the resources and information they have at the time. Yeah. And also, there's a real component of self-compassion. If something's upsetting you, you do deserve to be happy. You do deserve to have what you want. You do deserve to evolve. You deserve to have the life that you want. And we're all worthy, regardless of what's happened to us or not happened to us in our lives. That doesn't affect your innate worthiness. It just doesn't. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And I think a lot of people. So, I mean, I think the point about all this stuff, the point about writing the book, the point about doing the podcast, is to get all this stuff out to the biggest amount of people possible. Because a lot of people out there aren't going to find me online as a therapist or a counselor. And also, I'm not cheap. So, counseling is expensive. Me or anyone else. You've got to have money for therapy. But doing books, doing podcasts, which loads and loads of people do. I do want to go back to Michael Mosley, actually, because I think he's a really wonderful example of a man who worked tirelessly for other people, who had this incredible enthusiasm, who wanted to give as many people as much information as he could possibly muster for their better health. That's the sort of stuff people need to be doing. A lot of people are doing that. They're trying to get stuff out there on podcasts, through books, through articles, coming on the show. That is what a lot of people are doing. Is getting that sense of self-worth, and giving people stuff to listen to and other things to do, exercises to do, a place to get heard. I think these things are really important. They're really, and I think this is a huge shift in our society. So my mother, I don't want to keep harking on about my mother. I love her. She's 90. But she finds all this completely out of her comfort zone. When I was trained to be a therapist, and obviously, part of the training is you go through therapy yourself. Or, that's kind of obvious, I guess. I hope. She was appalled. She was sort of saying, why would you do that? And I think partially because she was absolutely terrified that I was going to come home and say to her, "Do you know you were a rubbish mother?" Which I would never do.
No. Because everyone does the best with the knowledge and resources.
With what they're given. And also she is a war baby. She's 90. She was evacuated out of Malaya as it was then, and was sent to Australia, didn't see her father, went to boarding school, didn't see her parents, blah, 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 blah. And this isn't part of their world. You know, they think, you know, this is all very self-indulgent. It's not part of their world to have therapy. So for her, this is completely alien. And there'll be things when I'm older that my children will do, and I'd be like, why would you want to do that? You know, because generation.
But this is being on the leading edge of things, though, isn't it? This is evolution. You know, if we all had those values that your mum had and stuck to those, we couldn't evolve. We would never move on. It takes people.
But don't you think it's interesting ideas. How threatening?
And perhaps her ideas at the time were leading edge for her. We consider that.
Oh yeah, I mean, she got a place at St. Martin's School of Art. She's a brilliant pen and ink artist. They call her
calligrapher. You mean the calligraphy?
No, she draws pen and ink like geese and like woodcuts. You know, the stuff you have on woodcuts.
Oh yeah.
And she's brilliant. But so this is when she, you know, left school, and her father was found, and he survived the war. And anyway, her parents were living in Chew Magna in the West Country, and she got a place at St. Martin's School of Art because an enlightened art teacher sent her art in. And the admissions people called home, you know, Chew Magna 125. And she said, well, I'm delighted to offer your daughter, you know, Miss Pamela Isles, as she was then, a place at St. Martin's School of Art. And my grandfather said, absolutely no way, no daughter of mine's going to art school, put the phone down, and that was the end of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that fantastic film, Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? It was Neil, wasn't it? And his father, real tight ass, you know, typical of that time. No, you're going to be a doctor, Neil. You're going to military school and all that sort of thing.
You're not going
and
to
it absolutely destroyed his spirit. And that was the magic of the teacher that Robin Williams played. I can't remember his name in the film.
No, I can't either. He's Carpe Diem, isn't he? Or is that good one? I can't remember. Yeah.
No, he does say Carpe Diem, seize the day. Oh, Captain, my captain. Somebody help me out here. What was the name of the character Robin Williams played in Dead Poets Society?
But yes, so I mean, maybe that was cutting edge too. So I think societies are actions and reactions, aren't they? So I think part of our reaction, well, I think our reaction to our parents, my parents' generation, who really, my dad not so much because he was more emotional, but, you know, didn't really, you know, who was stoics. They were stoics, you know, their parents were stoics. There's a stoicism about it. So, you know, we've probably gone the other way, which is we're much more open. We talk about our feelings, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm not saying either is right or wrong. You know, all the people that think that 18-year-olds should go to national service, I think, you know, are kind of like that. You cannot, you must, you know, don't think blah, blah.
No. I mean, that just wouldn't, I mean, I'm thinking of my own wonderful daughter. That wouldn't have worked for her.
No,
that's not her part. John Keating, by the way, was the character name. John Keating. So, you know, for me, it's like when someone says, you know, all 18-year-olds should do national service, I'm like, I can't even get it doesn't even compute in my head because I'm like, if you use, the thing is, though, if you're using words like all, that's like saying all blanket rules just simply don't work. They simply don't, apart from, you know, fairly obvious stuff.
It's just not well thought out. I mean, if someone can, you know, maybe there's a bigger thinking around it. But so I heard people say, well, they ought to give back. I'm like, they're 18. Give back what? They haven't done anything yet. I mean, half of their school life was messed up through no fault of anyone else's, but because of COVID. You know.
Yeah, I know. So they're behind in their exams, and we send them off to national service because they need to be grateful. These kids, these snowflakes.
I know. I mean, my daughter, who's 17, was like, "What am I supposed to be paying back?" I was like, "I don't know. It's not, you know, don't worry, it's not going to happen anyway." But you know, also. So I've got 3 boys. If someone said to me, your boys have got to go off to war over a set of decisions that have got nothing to do with me and nothing to do with them, I'd be like, no, I don't actually think that's okay. You know, why should that? No, actually, they're not going to go off and risk their lives for a lunatic set of decisions that hasn't been made by them. You know, I just think that because life has changed and life has moved on and generations have moved on and it's very different now. You know, they,
And that's a good thing, I think. It keeps us on the leading edge. I mean, I love having conversations with my daughter saying, what's it like for you now in this? And I tell her what it was like for me when I was your age. And she tells me what it's like for her. And I think in that way, we can be really useful to each other. It's a fascinating conversation. But to say, you should do this because of that, or you should do that because of some societal rule, that just wouldn't have worked for her. It just wouldn't have worked.
no,
And
same with
again, it would be cutting the person to fit the cloth. And I'm not willing to do that to my daughter.
No, I mean, I went traveling at 18 and went and toured around Africa, and I was a very adventurous 18-year-old. But life was pretty different then. I didn't have a mobile phone, actually, but, so that was very different. But I think...
You did?
No, of course not. They were in existence.
I was going to say, yeah.
No, so I went to Africa all by myself and didn't speak to anybody for a year. I just... post restaurant, if anyone knows what that is, my mother when I could, my parents when I could, but they had no idea where I was or what I was doing. And actually, I think they were fine. I don't think they were particularly worried. But I think so. Life has changed. We were all very upset that Michael Mosley didn't take his mobile phone. I went around the entire of Africa without a mobile phone.
Yeah, Shall we finish with a Michael Mosley?
Yeah, can
today?
we? It's very sad, and I feel very, very, very sad. Sorry for his wife and children and everyone that loves him.
I do, and I really hope. I mean, it's far too early to say this now, but I hope someone, maybe one of his family members, maybe continues his work. Early morning, breakfast, mid-morning, lunchtime, afternoon, or evening. Pick one of those.
Afternoon, because we're about to go into the afternoon.
Get some house plants, play video games, green spaces, stand up, or eat chocolate. Which would you like?
Ooh, play video games. That's interesting. No one ever says that. This is like one of those games you used to play, with the little choice chambers.
How to do it. Play a high-action game for 30 minutes a day. My 3 sons spent a large chunk of their teenage years playing video games, something I thought my daughter had no interest in. I always thought that playing video games was a monumental waste of time. Like most parents, I saw the games as horribly addictive, bad for your eyes and bad for your attention span. But much as I may hate to admit it, I was wrong, says the good doctor. Recent research suggests that action-packed gaming can be good for your brain and even for your eyesight, shown to boost your working memory. That's the ability to remember more than one thing at a time, your focus, and your ability to multitask. According to cognitive neuroscientist Daphne Bavelier, who's a professor at the University of Geneva and a specialist in the impact on video games on behaviour. And she says, as a mum of 3, I share your concerns about video games being bad for you, but as a scientist, I've been pleasantly surprised to see how some video games can have a positive effect on the brain and behaviour. The right games can enhance how well you pay attention. Maybe this is something for your mum, Fat Scotty. We were talking about this at the start of the show. Your mum playing Grand Theft Auto. Probably not the right one. Show marked improvement in special cognition and working memory and the ability to multitask. We believe gaming can make the brain more efficient at processing information. Why? It involves quick decision making, navigating around environments and finding visual targets. They have been shown to physically increase grey matter in an area associated with abstract reasoning and problem solving. We noticed that people that play high-paced action video games tend to perform extremely well on our attention tests, particularly pronounced in people that play shooter games rather than participation or puzzle games. Here you go, Scotty, get your mum playing a shoot 'em up.
Wow.
Gaming makes you better at multiple things at once, ignoring distractions and spotting details in busy, confusing scenes. Useful in life as well, of course, for killing aliens that are trying to invade Earth. Nor do they appear to be bad for your eyes. And we've got some, he's put some video game terms here. We're finished with this. Flanking, you know what that means?
Going up alongside somebody.
Close. Opponents trying to attack you from a different angle. That will make him a flanker. Hop on.
Jumping on top of somebody.
No, joining someone's group. In the lobby.
Oh, waiting to go into the game.
Yeah. The party. Oh, that's easy.
Lots of you.
Yeah, the group of players that are going to be playing the game.
Sorry, that was a bit late.
I downed them.
Oh, I killed them, took them down with my shooter.
Yeah, he spawned.
Spawned?
Spawned. Like frog spawn, spawned.
many. They gave birth to many of him.
No, reborn, like the phoenix from the ashes.
Reborn. Okay.
Noob. Oh, this is easy. I didn't know this one. Noob.
Very fast going down a tube of water, like a
No,
loop
noob.
with a
Like
nut.
newbie. Newbie.
Oh, okay, newbie.
On a streak. That's a series of
Oh, that's
successful.
winning.
Yeah. Or they've been sniped.
Oh, they're killed.
Yeah. Hit with a long distance rival.
They've been taken
Really
out.
recommend this book. Just One Thing by Michael Mosley. Hand on heart, Dr. Michael. If I'm just a tiny bit continuing your legacy, it's an absolute pleasure to do so. Massive fan of your work. And you have a rather nice book as well, don't you? Hold it up.
Yeah, how to have extraordinary relationships with absolutely everything, everybody, even.
And the podcast is coming soon as well.
Absolute respect to Michael Mosley. And I mean, I think all of us have felt, for reasons that are huge, grief, even though maybe we didn't know, well, lots of us didn't know him, but we knew him and have felt very safe with him.
My dear friend and colleague at work said it's the saddest I've ever felt about a celebrity, or even more than a celebrity, if you know what I mean. Because I think he just touched the hearts of so many of us.
He really did.
Just by being totally authentic and totally who he was, and maybe that's the final gift he left us. You know, to live a full, authentic, daring life, and to live fully. And don't wait to be happy. Live fully now. And perhaps that's the gift that amazing man left us with. Lucy Cavendish, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. I'm quite enjoying our regular sessions. We'll get you back again soon. Keep an eye out for the podcast, which is going to be same title as the book, How to Have Extraordinary Relationships.
Yeah, and is managed by you, so that's excellent.
Anyone needs help with podcasting, hit me up on the socials. I'll be the producer in your pocket if Lucy will let you have a turn. And Russ and Phil Dave and Jonathan Baz and Chantal Ricard, Screen Queen, will be here on Friday. And I will see you Monday as well for another edition of the Midday Show. But in the meantime, Lucy, thank you so much for being on. Good luck with everything. And I'll speak to you very soon. All right. You take care. Going to end the stream now. Good afternoon. Lucy, stay where you are. Oh, she's gone. Oh, never mind. She's taking herself out. I don't know. Not that it matters. What an interesting show. Thank you so much. Recommend this book. Dr. Michael Mosley. If there's just one thing you do, go and buy this book today and it will benefit your life. That's what his life was about, wasn't it? Good afternoon. And my esteemed colleagues will see you Friday.